Welcome to Unit 5 of C#. In Unit 5, we'll be looking at objects and classes and how to declare them. My assumption is that you've already seen objects and classes in some other object-oriented programming language, like the Java. And so I'll be drawing on that and assuming you know the basics of object-oriented programming and what an object is. But we'll do a little bit of review as we talk about how this is done in C#. We're going to start with a web version that is included in the source files for this chapter and chapter 3 of the text. And so I've opened that up here and I'll include it so you can also download it on Blackboard. There's a default.asp file here, which is a simple ASP file. I've modified it a little bit. Originally it displayed the product when the program when the web page is just loaded. I've added a button here so that it won't display the product until after the button is clicked. That required just creating that button on the form and then moving this code, which we'll look at in a little bit, from the page load event down to the button click event. But what this will do is it creates a simple product with a name and a price and an image, and then it displays that product on the screen. It doesn't do anything else. It just, what we started is relatively basic, and that is working with a product and creating one. So what we see when we declare an object is we use that object name, product. We give it some name, sales product. That's what it'll be called. So we call that instantiating this. So we have a class product, and now we're creating an object called sale product of that type. And then this is a constructor, and we call the constructor by saying new, and then the name of the object again, or the name of the class again, and then often some parameters to initialize that class. So let's look at this product class and how it is defined. I'm going to stop my simulation still running here. So besides the default.aspx, there's a web, app code folder, and there's a product.cs file there. I've also duplicated this. The one that they create and show in the book also includes events, and we'll get to those in the next section. But I'm going to start by looking at a little more simplified version of this. And this is what they also do as they walk you through the textbook, is this version initially. So this is the product with no event information in. So we have a using system. We have the public class and the product name, or the name of the class here. And again, I've got two different ones. The one we'll be actually looking at is this product one here, where it says public class product. But again, this has some other things in it that I want to avoid for now. So in the simplified version of it, without any events, we declare our attributes or properties. So this is the data we're going to store in the class. So we have a name, a price, and an image URL. So those are the three things we're going to store. Now, one thing that's different than Java or C++ is the use of the get and the set functions. Generally, in other languages, you have to declare your properties, and then afterwards, if you want, you can create set and get functions, and they're kind of separated from the properties. In C#, they've kind of incorporated these together, and so let's look at the price. So here's the private version of price, and here's the public interface or accessor to price. And so when we'll be using this outside this class, we'll use the capital P price, and inside the private version is stored in the lowercase p price. And then we define a set and a get function or method, and these are called accessor functions here, and we define them right within our public interface here. And so for get, we're just returning the lowercase version of this. And for set, there's a special defined variable called value, because set doesn't have a parameter, and that's automatically the value passed into this. And we're setting price equal to that value. And we can do some error checking. Maybe we want to only have prices where the value is greater than 0. So maybe we'll do that check and only set the price if that's true. One interesting thing is when these are called, then these are then called, this get and set are called automatically whenever you access this price variable. When you set it, so like assign it to some value, the set is automatically called, and when you read it, the get is automatically called. So we no longer have to call get and set in certain areas. Let me jump back to Microsoft has a pretty good description and view of this under their MSDN site, and I'll post this to the Blackboard. They have a thing on using properties in C#. They talk about these assessor classes, and so they're changing what we used to be called like an attribute. They're now using the idea of a property. It combines both aspects of a field or attribute and a method, our methods, because it includes the get and sets. And again, they look at the same thing here, a simple month as part of a date. And then they talk about how these are called. So when we just assign a value to something, the set and get are automatically called. Let me show you that. So I'm going to switch over to another link within Microsoft, the MSDN site, on assessors specifically. And again, they go over another example here of an employee with a get and the set. But then they talk about how set is automatically called. So when we just say like E1, refer to an object and in an attribute.name and assign it equal to a value, set will be called automatically. In Java, we'd have to do something like e1.name.set parentheses Joe and call a set explicitly. But here it is called automatically. If you've done a lot of C# programming, basically what they're doing is overriding the assignment or equals operator to call the set value. And the same is with the get. When you get a value, when you read a value, like you're printing a value out. So here they're just printing it out to the console e1.name. And again, we don't have to say .name.get parentheses. We can just use that property directly. And then the get accessor is called automatically here. So that's kind of a new thing and a new format for C# is these gets and sets properties. And we'll see how to use those in just a sec. Often sometimes we'll define our own. Sometimes we'll just want to use kind of the standard ones. And if you just say get semicolon set semicolon, you basically get the standard. Get returns the the value, and sets the value here and does nothing else. So this will define set and get with no special error checking or anything like that. So you can see that is what's done for image URL and name. But we added some stuff for price, and then we'll add excuse me, some additional code in here when we want to add an event and call an event when the price changes. There are two constructors, and again, these should be pretty familiar. You make them public. They don't have a return type, and they just have the name of the object. So that name has to match the name of your class. And here we have two different versions, one without an image and one with an image. And again, so you can define multiple constructors with varied parameters, and the correct one will be called depending on what parameters you call. Notice here that, so we pass in a name and a price, but we're using the capital, we're using these properties. We're saying name equals the passed in variable name here. And so that will automatically call the set method or the set accessor for name, and same with these other values. So this actually will check, it will call this set and verify that the price is greater than 0 in the constructor. We have just one more illustrative method here. It's kind of a generic one. We're just kind of displaying, printing out our image. Here we're converting it all to an HTML string. So we're creating a string and formatting the information in HTML and then returning that string. So here we have our public and then the type of the method and then the method name, and no parameters in this one. And this is what we're actually using in our code for our website. So we declare our product, and here's our constructor we're calling, and here we are passing in a name, a price, and an image name. So that will call this, that'll match up with this constructor. I should note, yeah, and then response write. So this response write prints out HTML to the web page, and here we're calling sales product. We're grabbing our product, and we're calling the get HTML method, and this will display the HTML. So when we run this, it'll display the HTML. Now I'm going to switch, now that we've looked at this basic product, I'm going to switch over to the more complicated one that uses events, and just talk about that real briefly. So this is the product we're actually using. It's very similar. All it has added is an event delegate here, and we define that event and call it price changed. And then down here, when we set the price, we check the value, and then we're actually checking if the price changed, or if we have this event declared. So if it's not null, then we call it, and we'll fire off that event if there's someone listening to it. And again, I'll talk about that more later, but this is just the code we're actually using in this with the product. So I just want to show you this is the code that's will actually be running, but everything else is the same here. So now when we run this, it just opens it up in our web browser. It has a simple button, and then we click that button, it'll display our product. Last thing, let's look at this in as a Windows form also. Let me open that up. So here's our Windows form. We've got a form with a single button, and then we have a couple fields, text fields here. We have one that's labeled txt name, another one that's labeled txt price, and then an image file. Actually, it's a picture box. So these that was put here. So this is our layout, and what I'm doing here then is using these individual items so that I can use the individual accessors to put values in here. And then we have this button, and then we create, click the button. It does something very similar to what we did in the last one. We create a product called sales product, call the same constructor here. So we say new, the product name, and the same constructor. But now what we're going to do is set the text for the name field and the price field. And again, we're going to use that product name, sales product.name, and then sales product.price. And so these, again, there's no parentheses after these. We're just, it's like we're accessing these public attributes, and it will automatically call the get methods when we do this. It's interesting also then we can do things like the price is, we need that converted from a double to a string, so we can just add the toString method here, call. And same with the image. We have to do a little bit more. We've got to grab the image file name and then load that file from the folder. It's interesting, in order to get this to work, the image has to be in a certain location. So within our product, our project folder, there's the solution folder, and then here's the code, and then within the code there's a bin folder, and within that the debug folder. So depending on how you're compiling this, by default it compiles it in the debug mode, and everything's stored in here. The executable that you're actually running, the exe file, is stored, is created and generated here. So this, if you're not specifying a full path to some names of your images, you have to stick them here. And again, we're not doing anything too complicated here, so I just stuck the images in the debug folder so it'd be easy for us to display them in this simple example. The actual product is the same here. This file is actually exactly the same, just copied over from the other product, the web version, which is kind of nice, this shared code. So this is the exact same code, name with a normal get and set, price with a little more complicated set value, get image. It still has the get HTML in here and our constructors. So this file is exactly the same. The only thing we've changed is this form. So now when we run this, we can just say display, click on the button, and it'll create the object with the constructor and then fill in these fields with values from the object we just created. So that just illustrates real quickly, introduces you to objects and classes in C#. We'll go on with a practice exercise where we'll modify this exact file, create multiple versions, and talk about some more complicated issues referring to how we access these with reference variables.